Hey friends. Every once in a while, it's fun to just play with sounds that that aren't necessarily maybe part of my sort of bread and butter, that fourthy sound. Super cool. I woke up and it sort of it evolved. My thinking sort of evolved around something as I was doing my usual morning routine, because I started reflecting on transformation, and it came out of actually some conversations recently that had nothing to do with transformation, or at least spiritual transformation in a specific sense. But we're talking about how you know when it's time to make a change. And there's a sense, I think, in life, in daily life, and in most domains of life, when we talk about making a change, we're talking about something akin to a software upgrade for our phone or our computer, right? It's like we want to operate better. Bug fixes and security enhancements. That's what we want. We want all the bug fixes we can possibly get our hands on. We don't want our life to be buggy. And we want security enhancements. We want our security to be enhanced. That's generally the way we approach change in life. But transformation is something completely different. And transformation has nothing to do with upgrading our operating system, which is ultimately our ego, right? Our manifest self, mind-body self. I use that term to refer, I use ego to refer to the totality of our existing being. I don't use ego necessarily to mean the negative part of us that is dragging us down and that has a negative and sort of almost like malicious intention within us. When I use ego that way, I try to be specific. But usually when I say ego, I just mean the structure of our actual manifest being, as opposed to the dimension of our being that is infinite, and that is beyond the ego, beyond the body and mind. And transformation is all about identifying with that infinite part of ourselves, and it has virtually nothing to do with upgrading the ego. No bug fixes and security enhancements necessary when it comes to transformation. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind, because sometimes we think about, if we decide to make a change in our life, it's usually because there's some problem we're trying to solve. We want something to be different. We want something specific to be different. The whole point of transformation is not that something needs to be different, that we want to make something different, but we want to question and ultimately dissolve the mechanism within us that wants anything to be different. And that's a significant distinction. And it's a significantly different character of experience. Sadhguru, I saw this on a talk where he was, like, of all places, he was giving a talk at Google, and he gave this remarkable, this kind of very lucid definition of transformation and change. And he said, change, when you make a change, there's still a link with the past. There's something in a certain state and you change it and it's in a new state. Transformation is an irrevocable shift and the past is no longer, there's no relationship to the past. It bears no relationship to the past. And I thought that was just a beautiful, it's both a kind of poetic way of expressing this, but it's also a pretty stark and powerful definition, because it really means that identifying with our infinite self leaves the concerns of the ego behind. It doesn't necessarily solve the problems. And I think, in my own life and in my own evolution, I've certainly felt myself, like I think I can look at my experience and identify, okay, here's where I'm in ego upgrade mode, and here's where I'm in transformation mode, because even once we have experienced profound transformation, and once we have access to the infinite side of ourselves, that doesn't mean that we're not going to do more ego upgrades. We very well might. And in fact, being in a place of kind of freedom and having a sense of this is all just play, puts us in a good place to be willing to make changes to our ego, because we're not too attached to the way things are. There's a kind of cushion of infinite freedom where it's like, well, I could stay like this, or I could change like this. How much effort will it take? How much energy? It becomes almost like a very objectively calculable shift. But it's important to understand that they're not the same thing. And if transformation is the goal, if transformation is what we're after, striving for transformation and practicing with the intention of transformation is very different than practicing with the intention of tuning up our ego, optimizing our operating system. They're two completely different things. And I think, maybe part of why this is coming up for me is because it's like there's work in both areas for me. I can see the work kind of in both domains, and it's important in both domains. It calls to me. It's inspiring, and at the same time, it's kind of important to remember, like, which is primary. Am I really about optimizing my ego? Is that really what this is about? Or is that kind of a second tier consideration? And what I'm really here for, what I'm really on earth for in this life, is to be about transformation. Because that radical freedom, it involves a radical letting go of all the things that keep us unfree. And that's the part of the transformation process that usually becomes the kind of eye of the needle. It becomes the threshold. And it will test how serious we are about transformation. It will give us a chance to put our money where our mouth is. Oh, you want transformation? Can you let go of this? What about 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 that? What about this? right? Because a little bit of meditation, a little bit of, feel good, peace, bliss, is all well and good as long as my ego is continuing to advance and grow and improve. But what happens when the ego is no longer improving? What happens when the ego is actually... What happens when we're not allowed... When that no longer becomes a marker of the kind of progress we're trying to make? Takes a completely different orientation. So, yeah, that's what showed up for me this morning. Gives me some I think there's any number of reasons why that is showing up for me right now, and gives me a pretty powerful lens through which to live this now period of my life. Hopefully it'll provoke some kind of helpful insights for you too. Thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate you. So much love. Have a great day. I'll see you soon.